Ugi. Tuko live, mwambie aweke. YouTube.
It's about time that you have now to settle. Tusindilie kahawa tumekula kidogo. So Omar, get inside. How pretty is your wait. Hi guys, you want to settle now? Yeah, that's someone is saying to that.
Sahi unaweza weka hiyo live. Tuko live. Before we answer presentations.
Let's sit down. We're just about to give out some gifts. So DJ, tupe volume kidogo. As you wait for one person to sit down. About now, we want to choose two people. Wakuje wakuoneshe venye mambo inaenda hapa. As we plan to also give out some gifts. And since someone is looking at me, you know definitely I'm going to call you here. Just look at me, niangalie tu lakini nitakuita. Alright. Nataka tusindilie chakula kidogo. So who's gonna be the first person? Let me see. Okay. Just come. We have goodies for you. Just come. All right. We need a jury. Let's see. Dancers. Okay. All right. Oh, I just said hi. Hey, yeah. Salama, this guy is busy. Hi. Hi. Kwa majina ni Yane. Tunakujua. Tunakujua. Makofi kwake. So all eyes here. Okay, kuna group pale kule nyuma. So you guys are gonna be side. DJ, sauti kidogo. Hiyo sauti imepinya sana. Hey. Sauti kidogo. Alafu ngoma ianze. So, pause kidogo. So, who's giving us the style? Pause kidogo to give us the steps. You know what? Okay. And you. So you guys are going to be the judges for today. We want to see who's got the best moves. To see Lilian hawa kidogo ile tumetoka kuinywa. Sawa sawa. As you also look forward to gifting some two people. Yeah, this is the house of gifts. So DJ, the one who started, you guys, you dance and then the people decide. Alright. DJ, turn it on. Hey, boy, child. Mambo ni moto, mambo ni bula. Nona mgodi. Hey. Noma sana. Hey.
Joni mapanga.
It is the time that the show has to shine. Unajua? So DJ, a different song, fundo. Ama you the same song? A different one? Unataka mage ama which one do you want? Mapanga le. Not mapanga le. Oh. What song? Adiana Chords. Yeah. Which song is this? Search to Diana Chords. Later. Only 30 seconds.
3 minutes.
Yeah. Hey.
Shelling.
Mambo ni bula. You have it. Kwenye lima. Potential iko pande gani? Yeah? Gani yo? Wewe? Piga mpiti. Siku za mwaka wote tunawa. Hey. Hata unaweza sasa kama meja. Shikilia. Hey. You have it. Huyo boys ameweza ama hajaweza? ameweza. Boys, wewe kama usemi mimi nakuita hapa mbele sasa na nipekee magi. Ameweza ama hajaweza? Ameweza. Now it's about time that you guys have to make that decision. Mimi nampatia gift. The only question ni uko na passport? Wow. Sawa. Anyway, so when you're going pande, I knew utakuwa tu right but sawa tu.
Simba msiniangushe bana.
That's me constant. Tim. What's your name? Sheila. Tim Sheila. Ni kama ameenda nyumbani asubuhi na mapema. Tim Sheila again. Tim Brain. So Sheila takes it home. Bro. Thank you so much guys. Equal votes, eh? So wacha leo mwingine atafuta passport sasa mambo yao tushughulikie. Bonfire Adventures mweke mambo yuko tayari. Yeah?
Hello. Uko salama? Naona watu mnajua kudance sana. Mimi hapo kwa kudance.
Check. Mwambie tu ile line ya YouTube. Ni day 3. Talk.
So, are you ready for the next session?
Very ready.
Yeah. So, who are you expecting? As per the program. Najua walikuwa wameigeuza kidogo. So, sasa hivi tunafanya pakja, Wangapi wanajua pakja? Who can tell me the pakja initials, like the meaning of pakja? In full. Pan-African? Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance. Yeah, so we are having a session with them on climate action, mitigation and adaptation. So help me welcome Mr. Duncan Omwami, our expert from PACJA, to take us through the session. Karibu.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm hoping it is still morning. Sindio?
Yes.
It is not still past midday, yeah? I don't know. People say this, they know PACJA. Where are they? I was from behind. I want to see those who know PACJA. You can see we are very few. About 4 or 5 of us who knows PACJA. Out of the 5, have you interacted with PACJA? Who has interacted with PACJA before? Only one. Thank you. I think that's now the best place I would want to start. And I want to remain guided. This thing is working, eh? I just slightly passed the Gen Z. So I may not be able to use it, but I know how it works. So members, I want to thank you for this good initiative that you are carrying forward under the SMACHS. I'm told it's the County Youth Ambassadors, yes? The County Youth?
Ambassadors.
Of course, when the concept came across, I read and liked it. And out of that, we want to amplify our voices, especially the youth, in matters of climate change. And to bring this into the spaces that, I don't know, am I limited to move? Okay. I'm that person that moves a lot. When this concept came across, it's a concept that myself I love. It drips in my heart as my blood. And when looking at matters of climate change, it is matters of life and death. And I know all of where you come from, this is whatever is affecting us. And the reason why we are here is because of the climate. I may not want to go into this, but I want to hope that we're together. Under the one of the designated platforms of PACJA, which is called Kenya Platform for Climate Governance. PACJA works in 52 countries, being the latest Djibouti that recently signed an MOU with us that are working with them, but I co-coordinate the national platform, the Kenyan platform. And that is what we have as the Kenya Platform for Climate Governance. PACJA is an organization that deals with matters of advocacy and climate justice. May I request that we get to our initiatives, maybe before I start. Oh yes, I think I can now be I can guide myself, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So PACJA, as we can say, yes, I think this is better. We have 10 major initiatives that we're working into, but categorically I'm not going to go through the 10 of them. I'll want to put very few of them that we look into these. The first one is the Nairobi Summer School on Climate Justice. You can see it there. It's a similar initiative closer to what we have as the SMACHS County Ambassadors or Youth Ambassadors, and it usually happens every year. I don't know if people have heard of the Nairobi Summer School on Climate Justice. You've heard of it. And then, as a similar project or a similar initiative, kindly keep on following. We have another one as YAF. Yes, YAF. Youth for Adaptation Finance, anchored in our office in West Africa, in Cameroon. And recently, the youths are doing a lot, and especially if you look at the first page, who can you see behind the screen, behind that blue, is it blue or green? You can see the youth, eh?
Yes.
So there's an initiative we run that goes through that. We have something we call AXEA, African Coalition for Sustainable Energy Access, still in West Africa, a campaign we run for the 630 million people in Africa living without energy access and electricity. GAD Africa, galvanizing and unifying Africa action for resilience development in the era of the pandemic. This is where our matters of climate actions are. And today, I'm limited, I may not talk about the others, I'm limited to only matters of mitigation and adaptation. I know most of you come from counties represented here, and you have a lot that you want to bring into our attention. That is what we have, and that marks part of the introduction of who we are and who I am. They requested that to be played. Does it have sound?
Our people and our future. The numbers don't lie. But beneath this beauty, an ominous threat looms. Our Africa faces an existential crisis. Soaring temperatures, relentless droughts, and punishing storms wreak havoc on our people. The climate catastrophe is ravaging our land, our people, and our future. The numbers don't lie. Africa bears the brunt of climate change, and the toll is staggering. But we, the youth of Africa, we refuse to be silent. We rise as champions of change, demanding accountability. We aren't just survivors. We are architects of hope, innovators, adapters, and builders of a resilient future. Our leaders have spoken. The world is pledged. Now they must act. Promises must turn into tangible solutions. We are the voice of Africa's future. We stand united, demanding accountability because our very existence hangs in the balance. Join us, share our stories, be a beacon of change. Together we will hold the world accountable. Together we will script a new narrative. Africa's legacy will be one of resilience, courage, and unwavering accountability.
Ladies and gentlemen, that comes to one of the initiatives that we run as called Keep Your Promise campaign, the second one. And as we look forward into what we have, that is what we go through in our daily lives, in whatever we do, in the scenarios that we face. And to quote, the biggest risk in Africa, African growth, is climate change. And indeed, I do want to agree with the Unilever CEO. Everything that we do today is affected by the climate, and matters of the life that are changing are being changed by what we have as climate change. Some of the few atrocities that I want to look into is matters of water shortage, insecurity, domestic violence, poverty, social inequalities, health diseases, population growth, and education being part of it. Look at the situation. We come from some of the counties that face this. True or false? Look at food insecurity. Our kids, ourselves, some of us not able to afford even 2 meals a day. If we go most is one, and we struggle for that one. Most of the people in our economy are living below $1. Probably, let me say $2, depending on the situations on the ground. Domestic violence. Things have gone south. People are never living. And for those who are married, I don't know if you are, they'll tell you most of the marriages are not working. People are just staying because of the kids. Right or wrong? We can have these come out of experiences with our neighbors, our parents, our relatives, and all of that. Look at education. We have 65 million people, especially girls, across the world, are not going to school because of their situations and because of matters that they're not able to access. Some of the basic commodities, some of the basic needs for them to keep them in school. Poverty, look at this. This is a scenario in Kenya. I don't want to quote where it is. This is the situation in which we are. And probably, it is we who are coming from those areas. It is we who are being brought up from these scenarios. Social inequalities, look at whatever now we do. Committees are being made, gentlemen are seated down, and what are they saying? Women are too busy to discuss matters of water. Our economy still lacks a lot of water because 21 counties are ASAL-related counties that have lack of water. What do you see women doing? They're carrying water. But who are discussing this? These are the problems we're facing. It's not just only with water. People are discussing matters of climate change in boardroom and leaving these actions outside there. People suffering are never brought to boardrooms. And that is a representation of what we have. Look at health and diseases. Is these not scenarios in which we live? I've lived in a slum myself, I understand. I was brought up in a slum. I know that kind of life. Daytime, normal activities. What happens at night? We don't know. Look at some of the diseases we have. Some of our children or our relatives have these, and that is what we're suffering from. The population growth, that is an area in Nairobi. If you're smart enough, you can tell. This is how we are. It is just because of the interest of our earth. Allow me now to limit back to what I was requested to do on matters of climate. Actions, mitigation, and adaptation. I have a lot, but today you'll allow me remain limited to whatever I was requested to do. When we talk about climate actions, as an organization, we're an advocacy organizations, we are all over. We are pushing for the interest of the African people. Recently, for those who have been following the Conference of Parties, PACJA has been written as one of the smallest organizations in Africa took over the Conference of Parties, COP29, in Azerbaijan, Baku. That is what we do. We run our actions by doing the promises. That we follow the promise, we follow the money. Today, I'm wearing Keep Your Promise campaign, but what is behind me is matters of climate, finance, adaptation, finance. We're gonna come there. In looking at matters of climate actions, it is good you familiarize yourself with the 17 sustainable goals. I'll not dwell in any of them, but my house is anchored in SDG number 13, where I'm strongly based and I really drive my agendas. I sleep, I wake up in SDG number 13. And out of that, this is what we have as call for climate action. And out of that, what do? We want to build on resilience, adaptive capacity in matters of our communities, especially related to hazards and natural disasters, not only in Africa, not in Kenya, but through all the countries. We integrate matters of climate change measures into policy, and I did say that PACJA is an advocacy organization. We deal more with policies and look forward to changing the dynamism of policies in ourselves, not policies in shelves, policies in actions. Then improve education, awareness raising, and also having human and institutional capacities on matters of climate change. This is what we do. And directly it falls under the target items of the climate action, 13.1, 13.2, 13.3, and also looking at that, we have 13.4, 13.5, and also 13.6. Look at matters of climate actions, and this is what we look into. Coming directly to where we are, this is a representation of our country. And most of us are falling within these counties, right or wrong? Have you ever looked at a situational analysis on how our county or how our government or how our situation is? If you look at this, I'm hoping I'm able to point. This is how our maps looks like. But in matters of our climate actions, we understand by the definition that was put earlier, It is matters of climate in temperatures and also rainfall. The other side, this side, is on matters of temperature. Looking at whatever we have, areas of high potential are only the regions. Oh my good God. I don't know if you can see number, let me say 1.9, 1.8, 1.57, 1.75. The areas around the central, let me now call them by the regions. We have the Nyanza region, we have the western part of the western region, we have the northern region, which is part of the central Rift Valley, we have Nairobi, are the areas in which we have high potential with good climatic conditions in relationship to the other areas. And looking into it, we agree that the projection of our nation in maybe to come years, we are going to be more vulnerable than we are today because of matters of climate atrocities. There are only two components we need, either rainfall or temperatures. And if we don't really consider our situation, we are fighting for 1.5 degrees centigrade as per the Paris Agreement, Article 5, 6, 7, and 9. Looking into this, but look at where the situation of our country is. Some of these are the impacts that we face. Floods are there. There are snows in some of the regions that are very cold. There is much of the drought in areas that we know there are some areas. Some of them, look at whatever is happening. In 2023, 2022, I can remember very well, some of the counties were suffering, were losing their livestock. They were losing most of their valuables. Look at the regions that are pastoralist-related counties. What did they suffer? I remember some of the animals, cows that were used to be bought more than 20,000 were being thrown at a price of 3,000. And that is what most of the butchers that we were having, meat being handed around because of that. This is matters of climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, it is never safe until you're safe. And looking at matters of the economics of climate change impacts in the Kenya, statistics supports that periodic floods and droughts are the major causes of socioeconomic impact and slow development in our country. Over 80% of our Kenyan population lives in the rural areas. And out of that, they depend on what we call as land resources and also agriculture that are rain-fed. Look at the regions that we looked at. Very few regions that receive rain, and look at the population that depend on that, and tell me approximations that in 2050, 2070, 2099, I don't want to quote 22 what? Okay, 2099, that is 2100. I may not be there, you may not be there. But look at the situation. The situation is gonna get worse than we expect. If we don't do something, we must act now. I want to refer you to the first El Nino that happened in 1997 and 1998. It cost our country 0.8 billion, more than 800 million US dollars, shillings, to about 1.2 billion US dollars. In matters of infrastructure and public health costs, the damages that were caused. The first El Nino that brought a lesson, that brought us to have the Kenya Meteorological Department be engaged in matters of analysis of the rains. In 1998 and 2000, we had an estimated drought coming in immediately after the El Nino that costed 2.8 billion Kenyan shillings as loss of the crops and livestock. Forest fires, fisheries, hydrological powers were reduced, and also industrial production that reduced water supply. Finally, look at this. Our current situation is that the climatic events are able to cost approximately 500 million USD every year, which is approximately 2% of our national gross domestic products that we have. Then you want to tell me we are safe. As Africa, we are not. And that's why we are fighting for our voices, and we need to look at keenly into this. After realizing the whole space that indeed climate change is a giant in the house, and that is why we walk the talk, we are here to discuss matters of this. Mitigation. I want to say mitigation is not our solution. As it is a component, it is not what we're fighting for. If I bring you to the global discussions and the global negotiations that are happening in the close, you realize that in our texts that we do in rooms of negotiations, adaptation is the priority and not to mitigate. What do you want to mitigate and you never cause to the problem? I want to ask a very simple question. When you have a car and you realize your car doesn't have a brake, do you go to the highway with a high speed? Do you go to the highway with high speed? Or do you wait until you go to the highway, you cause an accident, then try to find a solution? That is what we call mitigation. How do we understand mitigation? These are human actions that we want to reduce greenhouse gases. And clearly, I want to put it clear, and I thank the first presenter who came, Bwana Charles, matters of carbon. And the subject matter of carbon, even myself, I never liked it. It is a science of its own, but a simple science if you understand it. Carbon credits, carbon markets, carbon swaps, and carbon sinks are solutions to mitigations. Myself, I call them false climate solutions. They are solutions that are put to us to only prolong the problem for us to forget our major impacts and our major problems. Like saying, I plant 100 trees to sequester carbon dioxide that is not emitted by myself, but in China. Then you tell me, I'm finding a solution. Why should not the people who are committing these matters of climatic or polluting the environment be the first people who can be able to sequester and also find solutions to that? That is Africa. And that is what has consolidated ourselves to look for matters of climate finance. Pay us. That is a concept that now we bring about. If you add whatever we call loss and damage as a discussion that we are looking forward in the global space. You cannot cause the damages, give us the losses that we are passing through, and then you deny to pay Africa for the climate finance that we're following up. Africa only emits 4% of the global emissions in the whole scope. Probably, let me say, between 4 and currently, the way the situation is going, we may be at 5. 97%, if not 93, if I may quote it, is not coming from Africa. It's coming from the developed countries, with an exception of 64% coming from China. 58% coming from the US. Surprisingly, when COP was happening, US dismissed the African texts on matters of climate finance, and they left the negotiations rooms, leaving Africa as a nation or as a continent of special needs and special circumstances. Where do you want us? fight our interests in matters of climate finance. And then you expect us do climate actions, mitigate the problem that we have. Renewable energy adoptions, energy efficiency, reforestation, sustainable transport. Those are some of the key important matters of mitigation that can help us forget our problems today as we move forward. What are some of the basic mitigations that we need to understand? One, I don't want to look at the definition itself, but these are efforts to reinforce the things, to find more solutions that we can be able to sequester carbon dioxide in the space than it is. And by doing so, we are advocated that one, we reduce our emissions. Number two, we plant more trees. Number three, we move to renewable energy sources. But some of these gases that are looking into the space are not even part of the gases that are emitted within the African space. Carbon dioxide. The science of it, I may not want to get into it, you understand. Methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, the perfluorocarbons, sulfur hexafluoride, nitrogen trifluoride. These are some of the dangerous gases that are being emitted by the most leading chemical industries that are not in Africa. Most of them are in China, most of them are in Asia, and some are in the US, in the oil-producing countries. But as we look at this, in the Kenya, we have the greenhouse gases report in a quarterly stock that is being taken, states that we have some of the entities, we have some of the policies that help us regulate this under the MCA Act of 1999, subsection 8, 9, and 13, which looks as the air quality under the regulations that was stipulated in 2014 by the parliamentarians. If I talk more of mitigation, some of the efforts have been able to be done, but we realize in our Kenyan context, the biggest emitters of greenhouse gases is the transport industry. Today, we stand at a population of around 58 million. And out of the 58 million, we have more than 13 million cars owned in the Kenyan system. And out of that 13 million, the proportionality of this, it means that around 30% of the people in the Kenyan economy are owning cars. I'm including all maybe the matatus. Some people own up to 100 cars. Some doesn't own. Some are food distribution, senior. But we're looking at this. There are some of the initiatives as a country that have been done. Look at this. In 2019-2020, the transport sector did a performance and implementation of the climate actions by having that the emissions needs to be reduced by around 13% from whatever they are emitting as 26% of the total emissions that are going to the space under the transport sector. Looking at that, whatever has come out is that we want to go for clean energy transport mechanisms. Have you heard of electric cars coming?
Yeah.
Have you heard anything related to matters of electric trains?
Yeah.
That is whatever the implementation of that was a recommendation by the Ministry of Transport in 2019-2020. Looking at this, these are pictures around Thika Road. We want to implement a system that has been practiced and been tried in Rwanda and in London of having BRT. Most of us have never understood what that thing BRT is. Let's say the truth. Have you passed through Thika Road?
Yeah.
Have you passed through Thika?
Yes.
Have you seen somewhere something BRT? Eh?
Yes.
You've seen it, eh?
Yes.
If you've not, have you seen this thing? There is that car house, let me call it, I don't know. I don't know how we can call it. Eh?
Bus station.
This second picture. Have you seen it in major stations along the Thika? We call it bus rapid transport, in which there is only one lane with specialized cars. If you've seen the new model of these cars, like, is it City Opa? I've seen City Opa. These electric cars, the way they are arranged. It was meant that in a way, those cars have two different doors. We keep left in, is it keep right or left?
Left.
We keep left, huh?
Yes.
We keep left, we drive on the right. That there is a special provision in our driving system that we allow for the left side, no, the right side of the driver could be allowed to have doors for people to use. So that in this lane, a capacity of people can be made to transit and make stops at that point, so that when you make a stop, that maybe bus or whatever is coming to check can be able to pick a minimum of 50 people to 70 people in that within a short period of time. And that is what they call bus rapid transit. So that it helps matters of reducing, one, emissions, reducing congestions, and also being energy efficient. A same thing has been tried in Dar es Salaam, and it has worked. Especially in Swahili, they call it wakala wa kusafiri haraka nchini Tanzania. This is how it looks like. People, you get to that space, you can board a vehicle and can be moving. They are now timed. Those are now vehicles timed. If it is coming after 10 minutes, you're told the first one will come at this time, this time, this time, for matters of time. And out of this, you can look at it. This is, I took this is what? South Africa. That bus is one of the buses that same system is working in South Africa, working in Rwanda, and also is being implemented in Tanzania, but in Kenya, it has still remained a project. In Rwanda, they have gone to have electric vehicles, and they've even signed a deal with the Volkswagen company. And this is how it has. One, they're decarbonizing the transport sector. They're introducing electric cars and electric bikes, being led by the president of Rwanda, that in most of the days in Thursday, there is no driving into government offices. On Thursday, in Rwanda, people use bikes. You think that can work in Kenya?
Yes.
We want to enhance and motorized urban city networks. This is being tried in Kenya. The first time it was tried that there is no getting to CBD by buses. What did people do? Now look at the Kenyan transport system. We passed through, this is Thika Road. This was Thika Road in 2011. But today, if you look at Thika Road, it is more even congested. I'm assuming that the Thika Road we had in 2010, 2011 is the same Thika Road that we have, but the capacity of the cars have become more that you can find traffic jams in the morning, traffic jams in the evening. Senior, look at whatever we have. This is in Syokimau, having one of the electric trains. No, we haven't, no, this is not an electric train. We still don't have an electric train. But look at that. We want to improve efficiency of passenger vehicle stocks. We want to also look at the efficiency of the people who are using the diesel-based cars. We want to use adoption of biofuels through the help of the bus, rapid transit, and the light rail transit for the railways, and then still want to compete with other nations. It won't work. We are still far from getting the split. We are mitigating a problem that we've not caused. finding ourselves to finding solutions. Yes, I want to agree that Kenya is trying, but we are far from the reality. We have whatever we call the climate mitigation framework that we call RED+. As we call carbon markets, carbon credits has a false solution, are also called RED+, as one of the false solutions, to let us have prolonged effects, just minimizing these effects, but not finding the solution. Look at that. Under the Paris Agreement, embedded in the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework on Climate Change, an agreement of RED+ of 2011 clearly states that policies approach to have a positive initiatives, incentives that are able to issue and reduce greenhouse gases from matters of deforestation, forest degradation, and also having conservation plus sustainable management of forests. Why is it that the only problem of mitigating climate is only embedded in forests? Is only embedded in matters of looking at improving the forests? We are being guided that, brothers, sisters, that the solutions to climate change is planting more trees. We've bought the idea. Sindio? We have an initiative by the presidency of planting 15 billion trees. And these 15 billion trees that we have are trees within the Kenyan economy. We want to trade with our trees by selling hair. Sindio? I'm assuming, and I want to ask a small question. Will we be able to sustain these trees? Okay, we will plant. Sindio, trees take a longer time. How long are we going to sustain this? Can an economy only depend on trees? In Gabon, 3/4 of the land is forest. But they still strongly remain that their budgets come from France. They are still monopolized. I'm calling matters of carbon credits as solutions that are only coming to distract us, not to find long-term solutions. Reducing emissions and improving livelihoods. Yes, we can agree. This is happening. Look at the kind of that life. In my local language, there is that a small lamp. How do you call it? I don't know how you call it. In Swahili. Maybe someone in Swahili. Is it Kirobo?
Koroboi.
Koroboi.
Yeah.
Did we ever use the Koroboi?
Yeah.
We used it. Sindio?
Yeah.
Today, life has become that we're using solar. There is solar gadgets that have come. Yes, I agree. The mitigation measures for us, and we use renewable energy. These jikos are there with you people. You can see them in the villages. You can see them in our houses. Even schools nowadays that are doing high-level cooking, they have improved in matters of doing energy efficiency consumption. But what are we doing as a country? One, I agree that in matters of climate actions, we have got an establishment and an operationalization of the Climate Change Directorate. And this is the directorate that is responsible for matters of climate change, climate finance, and also all matters related to climate actions. There is the climate change units in all the ministries, the departments, and also the agencies, and also in counties. And I know most of you want to listen to this in matters of local. I agree. I'm a pioneer of the flocker itself under the CSOs into the county government. There is a lot that is happening. Maybe it's not a discussion for today, but we will need to touch it a little bit. Policy, we are good. We have climate change teams, working groups. Submissions are always made, especially that the first and the second submission on communication to climate change under the UNFCCC. In 2023, we did our first call, whatever we call it, the national determined contributions. And these targets were really highly set that even our economy, ourselves, were not able to meet the targets that were put. A consultant was found, did this for our African countries in matters that we want to look for climate finance. But it ended up that we are the people financing our climate actions. Needs assessment, I don't want to look into that. Active engagements, yes, I want to agree, we are in active engagements, mobilization and access to global climate finance. We look at matters of active engagements in conference of parties, and also look at regional climate change forums. Like every year we have what we call African Regional Forum on Sustainable Development. We have what we call, is it the AU? The AU Summit that usually happens in February. And this is the summit that we're looking forward that our Right Honorable, how do they call it? The Right Honorable Raila Molo, wanting to vie for an AU. These are regional things, and they're mostly, all of them are embedded within the matters of climate change. And whatever we have into this is just to have preparations in matters of whatever we can be able to do. So those are some. I may want to go, I don't want to go that. Now the solutions are adaptation. And clearly I want to tell you, the solutions of the African continent, our solutions means that we adapt, we build resilience, and also find long-term solutions than rather waiting for a problem to happen so that we have solutions as we regard it mitigation. Adaptation. How do we need to understand adaptation? We only need to adjust to matter of the climate change impacts and also be able to minimize their harm, what the exploitation we have, and also find opportunities across this. We want to enhance ecosystems and societies that are able to cope up with climatic changes and also find sustainable solutions. And how do we do it? First, if we want to adapt, we understand that the problems that we have, and we agree that climate change is there, it is real, we cannot do anything to reverse it, it has come, the only thing is to find a way of living with it. First of all, we need to do an assessment. Find out what are these impacts that we have. If we do have floods in our economy, I'll get to know that in each and every month of March, April, and part of May, what I need to do is what? We need to organize ourselves. In the month of September, October, and a little bit of November, we organize ourselves. Let us evaluate the vulnerabilities, the risks, and how our systems are being made so that we can be able to find solutions. Then secondly, we need to plan. Let's, one, prioritize, identify, and have some of the activities that we need to look at that are able to sustain us. So that in that aspect, we are able to know that during this month, this is how I'm supposed to wear, this is the kind of life I want to live, these are the things I need to avoid, these are the do's and the don'ts. And then let us implement. How do we implement? We have resources we put across Do we have guiding policies that will guide us? And do we have projects that can be able to find solutions to our problems? Finally, let us always track our progress by having feedbacks, enhance future, and also look at what are the efforts that we are doing. Are we together?
Yes.
Are we together?
Yes.
I don't want to lose you. I think I've a little bit spoke more than it is required. I want to throw this back to you. People coming from communities that are not able to support agriculture. How do people live? Has life stopped? I want a few mics to go around. Someone, the ICT person out there, support. I want to have an experience to those people that they never grow maize. Has life stopped?
No.
How do you always hope? Maybe one, 2 years. Let's hear from a few. I'm hoping. I'm not far from finishing. I'm not far from finishing. Someone? Yes?
Where I come from, that is my home.
Where?
My background, that is in Makweni.
Makweni.
Yeah, I think it was around 2009 when we had that drought. I don't know when it was, but I remember there were families that were like cooking unripe mango.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this bag, there are also maize,
Mm-hmm.
and which now is like people are doing better.
They did find solutions to their problems. They don't have maize, but they can have alternatives. Senior. And this is what is happening. I've been better part of the northern part of Kenya. There is no maize. But there is what we call livestock. There is a lot of meat being taken, senior. There is milk. There is other crops like cassava that are being used. And also you realize that some of the people don't even understand what ugali is. It's not a stable food for them, senior. They have found solutions to adopt. And for many years, they're into that. And that is clearly what we can call as adaptation. You bring resilience to the problems that you have. But by doing so, you need to organize yourself in a way that you'll have to assess, plan, evaluate, and also monitor. This is where my heart now comes. In matters of adaptation under the UNFCCC process, and this is where climate finance, climate money is, to have climate actions happening. We agree that we are binded by whatever we call the Paris Agreement that is signed by 196 countries, with an exception of US that signed away in 2021 out of the Paris Agreement. But whatever we have, our challenges are being recognized as a global challenge, especially from the local, subnational, the national, the regional, and equally the international regions. Matters of us and climate change as a problem is being realized at this point. And this is clearly being embedded under Article 7 of the Paris Agreement that particularly talks about matters of adaptation. But before I take you to adaptation, we have the Paris Agreement under Article 6, Article 7, and Article 9. And this is where maybe I could want us to put a lot of effort, especially Article 7 and Article 9, that deals with matters of climate finance. We cannot do any climate action without finances. We acknowledge that in matters of having climate actions or adaptation actions, we have driven paths that every and different countries follow, and it looks at different communities, ecosystems, and vulnerable groups under whatever we call our national determined contributions. I'm feeling it is a very complex thing out of this, but you'll get to know. For us to have matters of adaptation and matters of climate actions, these are some of the guiding principles. 1, communities must be at the forefront and must be the first respondents of the matters of the issues and impacts of whatever we are facing. Climate change is not felt in offices. It is not felt in towns or cities, but we feel it in our communities. Are we together? Are we there? Number 2, we have 8 guiding principles. We're going to come to them and see them. But we need to have a people's-centered approach that in whatever we do, it is not only about concerns of climate without having people at the heart. Also, we need to empower communities at the forefront and the people who are facing these problems. Countries, stakeholders, we need to demand for more resources, for both locally led initiatives and also ensuring sustainable adaptation so that we can be able to find solutions to our problems. Here are the principles. I may not want to take you more time about this, but we need beyond matters of decision making. Let no decisions be made in this boardroom. We are not the people to make decisions for our communities we represent. Are we there? As you sit here, sit with an interest that needs to go to your community. We want to address whatever we call structural inequalities that are faced by the women, the youth, children, disabled people, and indigenous peoples, the IPGs. We are never treated the same. Today, I want to ask something, and don't take me wrong. How many people are able differently here? How many people are able differently? Okay, let me put it clear. How many people we have here has people living with disabilities? Is there anyone? Is this inequalities being addressed? It is not. See, we need to bring the different groups onto the table on matters of climate discussions. Let us be able to provide patient and predictable funding mechanisms. Let us have the funding get to the communities. How many of you have heard of climate change yet? You've not heard of climate change. Why are we here? It is matters of climate. Seriously, we've heard of it. How many of the people here have in one way or the other been able to access climate finance? Or in your communities have been able to feel climate finance come down? Thank you. I think we're in the wrong house. Institutional legacy. In matters of our capacity building, we are ever doing this because we want this knowledge to go down. You are representatives of the 47 counties, as I'm told. We want these capabilities. Be the ambassadors at the ground. Be the champions who are championing matters of climate justice at your county. Build a resilience, build a robust understanding of climate risk and uncertainties. Let us understand our geographies. Let us know what are the problems that we face through and be able to be at a position to find solutions to that. Flexible programming and learning. Let us learn by doing. Let us find solutions to our problems. And also, be it that we need to be able to have monitoring and learning systems, flexible finance, and also flexible programs. And out of this, I need to call you that you ensure you are part of your county and follow whatever is happening under financing local climate actions. Transparency and accountability, let's be the champions of this, and also maybe probably as we get to engage more, we will need to look at whatever we have as opportunities at our county level. How many people know about FLOCA? Now the hands have started coming up. Thank you. 6 of you. How many of the 6 have engaged directly in FLOCA in your county governments? 4 of you. Out of the 80 people you have, kindly, when you live here, start to define, start to even sing FLOCA and find FLOCA in your county. If you do that, you will find me again in FLOCA in those counties. Matters of what we want to listen to. Climate finance. And the geography of our climate finance is being guided that we have core principles that are looking at our county. I'm not coming to the county level. County Climate Change Fund. And out of here, we have some of the principles that we look into. One is matters of inclusion of people with vulnerable people, women, decision making. The youths also needs to be there. As the youths, kindly, as you go out, follow this. Be part of the processes that happen in your counties. The investments that are being made need to be part of that. Flexible learning approaches, kindly, as you learn here, implement it at your county and also find whatever is happening so that you become an ambassador or a champion of matters of climate change through climate finance. Look at supportive devolutions. Finances have devolved down, and I think that's the discussion I want to drive now and open up. We have community-driven or bottom-up approaches, and whatever we have as a mechanisms of locally led or financing locally led, it is a community-led, and the people with the autonomy is that the people are the community and who are at the ward level. I don't want to get into all these nitty-gritties, but the composition of it remains that this is a locally led process, that local people need to be part of it. We need to be uncertain of our futures, and also we need to provide that there is what we call devolution, and out of that devolution, also climate finance have evolved, have gone down to our counties. It means it is us to follow the money for us to have climate actions to happen. We need to look at whatever is the mandate of our county governments, and also what are the people of the communities able to benefit from whatever has been devolved as climate funds. Inclusion, let us be part of the whole process. That one I want to leave it to you. I may not want to discuss this, but need to follow whatever we have. Here is where I want to now open up. For the 6 people who said they understand flocker, have you felt flocker money in your county? Hmm? You have not seen it. But what I want to put across is there is a program by the national government under the Treasury of Kenya. And this is one of the programs that have brought matters of climate actions being devolved into the county governments, and there are critical finances that have been devolved to the county governments. And for those who are engaged in the processes at the county level, there are engagements of the county government, there is engagement of the civil society organizations who are constituted in matters of whatever we call, let me come back, in matters of whatever we call resilience planning, and also having to develop integration, county information systems, plans that guide how the county governments need to address their needs. This has been put into a way that we have county integrated development plans, and also it is being made by tracking, adaptation, and measuring development at the county level, in which capacity of the people in the county are being made through the county integrated development plans, and also they have the outcomes, or whatever we call the participatory climate risk assessments that already been happening in the counties. They've analyzed whatever is happening in the different counties and known what are the priority areas and where funds needs to come. And at the moment, whatever is happening is clear climate resilience development. And most of the counties, in 46 counties that have participated in matters of flocker, 45 of them have been directly funded twice by having institutional support grants and climate resilience fund going to build structures at the county level. And this is where I want to finish. The flow of climate finance from the national government, from other agencies, down to the communities. We have global climate finance that is coming from different bodies and different sources, coming to the national implementing entities, or coming to the National Climate Fund under the National Treasury, and also coming down to the county level by having we need climate finance. And I want to categorically say that I'm really sorry that most of us, in matters of climate finance, we are far away. Let me leave you by that. Climate issues are a priority and should not be put last. Robert Chambers, read his book, Putting the Last to First. I may want to stop there. Mike, the mic please.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Tadicha from Marsabit, and I have a question. Since you've been here from the start I've heard some debate in my mind from different speakers. I don't know if the rest of members here, maybe few also might be the same. Yesterday we had a speaker also here talking about sustainable agriculture. And I think from what I've learned on what he said is that to adapt from cultural way of planting crops to aiming at what we want to achieve, you must be going slowly and appreciating what you are doing. So that is part of climate mitigation. And also this morning we had another speaker who talked about a session of carbon credit, and he touched something about climate mitigation, and even gave us example of the difference between climate mitigation and climate adaptation. And he told us that climate mitigation is like a child who is using drug, but you can beat him and change him. And climate adaptation is the one who has even lost control and is using drug. Now is an old person who just take him to committee. And you here, you are respected. Yeah, I respect all the speakers, but this is just a debate in my mind. You told us that climate mitigation is like a car which has lost its brake. And you cannot now drive that car so that it causes accident, then you start making changes. So I think this is, if I view it from two different angles, it is, I don't know if I'm confused or... Second, I have not finished. And then you also talked about the carbon credit still on how the industrialized, the previous speaker told us that the industrialized countries, that are the developed countries, don't want to close up their industries because of now this climate action. And now that they have been told to reduce the greenhouse emission. So what they have done, and he also gave us an example of this room as a globe. And he said that if this room is a globe, and let's say that there is Africa, we have Asia on this side, and then we have all these countries emitting gases. And then there is that developed countries with a lot of industries don't want to stop the industrialization. So this is the mitigation measure whereby the countries with the space, such as now the African continent, can do most part of this climate action on planting trees, on reducing these emissions, so that the countries that are developed can buy those credits, and then meanwhile the gas will be reduced globally, because now it's like we are in the same room. And then also, you've also told us from the Paris Agreement, there is a regulation on greenhouse gas emission. And I've also heard you say, you talk about the Kenyan Transport Ministry, I mean the Kenyan government, trying to reduce the previous gas emission from 26% to 13%. And you also insisted, I think I felt like you condemned that, and you insisted that we should adopt, or rather, yeah, we should adopt a way of the electrical transport system. But my question is, or from what the speaker has said, is that we need to mitigate this so that we cannot wake up one morning and say that we need to eliminate all those transport gas emissions. So we cannot have everyone throw away their cars and have the electrical cars. So that is the point I understood from previous speaker, but now from what you talked, I understood otherwise. And then, so my question is this an unsettled agreement, an unsettled discussion, or what way should we go now as ambassadors? Thank you.
Excuse, can I request that we go sequentially? Because you've asked, just leave a mic with him. We go question after question. Do we agree?
Yeah.
I want to start from the first question. The difference between mitigation and adaptation. Take it in two contexts. agree. I love these challenges. Mitigation, as defined, is finding, it is human activities, to find solutions, to problems that have occurred or is about to occur. Do we agree? Mitigation, we find solutions to problems that have occurred, about to occur, and will occur. Right? And that is the example that is a child who has started taking drugs and is about to be, and can be what? Can be reversed. My biggest question.
That is mitigation.
That is mitigation.
Context.
The context. I want us to come to a reality now of the world in two examples. This side flood, this side severe, let me use the word extreme, drought. Bring the context of mitigation here. This is flood, this is drought. How will you want to mitigate that?
So if one side is flooded and the other one is extremely flooded?
No, extreme flood, extreme drought. Mitigation.
I think that is, it can fall under, how, you are asking how we can mitigate that?
Let me explain to you.
Okay.
And it opens a discussion that mitigation is, allow me to call them, short-term solutions to this problem. For example, if this is drought, let it be their policy, let it be their funds, let it be their actions, and let it be their plans that are between the month of April and the month of May, where there is high rains. We have designated funds put for this to mitigate the problems. And to mitigate these problems is we wait, we see what these are problems, and then we act on them. As a point of matter of mitigation, and why I call them, they are short-term solutions, they cannot find us solutions. Look at the trajectory of how our Africa looks like, especially our Kenya. A small portion of it is in a favorable climatic condition that can be able to sustain life. We realized 80% of the people are living in the rural areas. But out of that, how many people are living under agriculture? Let me find it. Look at that situation. If you look at, let me come even out here. Look at this area. This small area. These are the only areas that are favorable in our country that can be able to support our economy in a very nice and comfortable environment. Look at the whole of the other areas. There are some areas the climatic condition doesn't allow us, and it doesn't give us honor about that. 80% of the people population in rural areas, and they depend on what? Agriculture and land resources. The way the situation is going ahead, do you find that let's wait for a problem of climate to happen so that we find a solution to it as a solution? You don't. That's why I say mitigation is a short-term solution to this. And again, I want to tie it to the second one on carbon credits and carbon markets. We've realized that Africa only emits 4%. I'm thinking 4%. 96-95% of this is emitted by the industrialized countries. These industrialized countries, when we sit with them on the global table, we want whatever we call compensation. And the compensation we need is for the problem they've caused. They've emitted 96%. Who are facing this challenge? It is the people who are the global south. We have the global north and the global south. The discussion now comes in that they don't have space to do matters of whatever we call as mitigation or finding solutions. But the only thing they have is resources, money on the table to pay for those who are doing that good service for them. China is strongly and highly polluting the environment, but they're willing to pay Africa for their pollution. So that's it. Let me emit 1 million metric tons to the space. Africa emit only two tons. And then we sit on the negotiation table that whatever I'm emitting, I'm giving a price for whatever I'm emitting, and then I'm giving you. Then you think we are doing justice to ourselves. But someone is causing this problem. We are seated here comfortably, waiting that pay us, we do more services for you, we conserve our environment for you to continue paying for that. That is why I say mitigation and carbon credits, as they've been brought as solutions. It's a business. So that let us keep, and we entertained that for us to have our matters of climate actions is, let us agree at a point. Don't complain too much. We emit, we balance you up here by bringing resources to the table. That's why you see, keep your promise campaign. That is the situation on the ground. We cannot change it. They are emitting, we are suffering. Pay for the loss and damage that you've caused to Africa. Today you look at whatever is happening. In a month ago, what was happening in Nigeria? A lot of floods. And who caused this? Nigeria has never been there. In the last 4 decades, that there has never been such a flood. It is the matters of climate change. So when we want to look at matters of carbon credits are solutions. And there is what I want to open it up for you. There is what we call carbon swaps. Go read on matters of carbon swaps and you'll understand why that the emissions that is being caused has been now negotiated that let the funds come in form of swaps. You sell us the air, we give you the money. The third question, come on. You're asking something on the third question. Okay, thank you. Any other person? 1, 2, 3, 4. And let us have the 4 of them, because I don't want to go much into your time. I'm still here for any discussion. I'm not going to leave immediately. We can have a real discussion. 1.
Okay. One thing I must say is that I love your honesty and the way you are doing it. According to me, just an addition, is that it really even triggers my mind when you say that we only contribute 4% of the global emissions. And we are told to plant more trees so that they continue destroying the environment. So how long
on behalf of us,
on behalf of us. So for me, I think what you've said on adaptation, and I want to emphasize and support it, is that we should focus more on adaptation as Africans, because our mitigation contribution is very small, like 4% ni kitu kidogo sana. Lakini droughts and floods will continue being there, and we cannot continue saying that tupande miti, wachina watulipe pesa, alafu drought nazo zinaendelea kutupata. So I like your honesty, I like the way you put it. Love it so much.
Thank you. As you give the second speaker, allow me to put it clear. In our global negotiations, adaptation under whatever we call the new collective and quantified goals on adaptation, our calculations as an Africa was going to 1.3 trillion US dollars. But whatever was being able to be agreed by the G77 and China included is only 0.3 billion, which is 300 million US dollars. In the context of mitigation, we are at currently 752 million US dollars. Only 251 million dollars have been released under the UNFCCC process that is under funds that to support the African countries, and they're coming to the countries as concessional loans. I think it's a discussion that I could want to happen. And when you look at how this money is being used in other countries, in Egypt, the money that came as climate finance by studies has been used to develop an airport. In the US, climate finance has been used to develop a sweets industry. No, in Kenya our system is good. All the amount that has been contributed, we can feel it under flow. The financing locally led actions. At currently where we have $298 million that has already gone. And in 2030, we're looking forward to mobilize $1 billion. Second question.
Hi, my name is Mercy. I want to commend the presentation first. Especially the media to tell you
What is the voice?
Secondly, I want to ask, you've mentioned that you've done on policy a lot, so I'm wondering if because policies are not legally binding, I'm wondering if you have any policies that are on the way to become laws so that at least you can have a lot more people taking up these interventions. And then lastly, it's about the carbon credits. I have my reservations when it comes to carbon credits as well. So I agree with you a lot on carbon credits being an excuse of industrialized countries trying to transfer the problem to people who are, to Africans really. So my question comes in on asking how much interest do you think we have in the West now that I don't think the negotiation roundtables like COP are really a level ground. You've mentioned the example of the US working out when they had to talk about something and be accountable for their input in the global warming, you know that. And lastly, what was your input as COP?
The input?
What was your input as COP? I know you have had a lot of conversations, but you're overarching.
Thank you. As the mic goes to the third person, 3 important questions. As a policy organization, we've contributed a lot of matters of policy. Looking at whatever we have at the devolved climate governance system in the county governments, we're participating in reviewing the climate acts in 16 counties in Kenya that have been passed as prerequisite requirements for financing local climate actions. Kajiado, Makueni, Kericho, Narok, 16 of them of that. Secondly, I don't know if I got, I wish I could be writing, but what was our contribution under COP? COP 29 was a COP of finance, climate finance. Africa, under the African group of negotiators, led by our special convoy from State House, Mr. Ali. We had a Kenyan position by the CSOs that was presented, and that is why I'll tell you, as an African organization, we took over COP29. In the texts that were being drafted in negotiations team, including including US and Japan moving out of the negotiation rooms, we were able to secure 0.3 billion. That is $300 million under adaptation finance. And this will trickle through the UNFCCC, and the African countries are going to apply for this. And this is what we have as matters of climate finance coming down. I think that is what I can say as an impact, and we're still moving into it across the whole countries we have. Ever in each and every year, we do a worldwide campaign on Follow the Money campaign. And probably, as you can be able to see, the matters and the architect of climate finance, especially in Kenya, has really changed. Kenya is the only third country after South Africa and Ghana that is receiving the highest percentage of climate finance. If you look at your records, just look, most of the investors today are moving to Ghana because of the leadership and the structure of matters of how their economy and their policy is going. Initially it was Senegal. Senegal has got their leadership changed, but it's now moving to Ghana. And look at whatever we have as our country, Kenya. Kenya is regarded as the most progressive country in matters of climate finance, having one of the world's most recognized program financing locally led climate actions. Recently, we have, the West Africa, I can't remember the country, has come to benchmark with us to follow up whatever we're doing. I think I may have answered yourself. I want to come back to the question that was asked, that Kenya, what are we doing under the transport system? Yes, we agree. We are at the 0.97% dependent on fossil fuels and having diesel-driven engines, fuel-driven engines, but whatever we have as electric cars or solutions, we are not yet there, but we are moving. These are baby steps coming to there. If you compare these two, look at whatever we have in, this is in Kenya, look at whatever we have in, oh sorry, this thing is, look at whatever we have in Rwanda. Oh my God. Can you scroll me back in the Rwandan context? Rwanda is a bit ahead of us, especially on matters of the transport system. Yeah. Next. Yes. Rwanda has already partnered with Volkswagen, and this company has released over, I think, they were given a tender of about how many billion to deliver around 1,000 vehicles into the Rwandan ecosystem. Rwanda. In Kenya, are we at 1,000 vehicles? We are not. It is an initiative that is taking shape, and people are still fighting it strongly. It is not going to come out because of politics that we have around us. And that is why I'm saying, if you look at the state of our economy, look at even the transport. We have the railway system. The railway system that we have, the Tanzanian one is even better than we are. But we are moving slightly to having improved into this process. Last question, second last.
Okay.
Mike, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Charles from Nyeri. So I want to take it from where my friend Enoch from Turkana just commented about. China and Asia are the leading emissions, and
China,
America,
US.
China, US, America, Europe in that order. After we are at 4%. So that means we are, so the developing countries want to pay us for the wrongs which they are doing there in those countries. So my question is, for how long will we sustain this? So because they will be a meeting and they are paying us, we plant trees, they continue, we do the same. So how long can we sustain that cycle?
That is my question, and directly it goes to the question that was asked there. That despite the agreement that Africa is the least country that is emitting, the developed countries are still not accepting, and that is why they're moving out of negotiation rooms. In our new collective quantified goals on adaptation, we had 1.3 trillion US dollars. But what was agreed? Only 300 billion US dollars. The sustainability of this is not matters of mitigation. That they keep us, that let us pay for your damage. Yes, we started calling for $100 billion in 2008. In 2020, not even 200 million US dollars were being brought to us, or were being put into the UNFCCC processes for matters of climate actions. Again, whatever we add in COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, to have whatever we call as loss and damage, yes, pay for loss and damage, we've realized Africa is a continent of special needs, and it needs special interests and attention being put. The 100 billion was pledged. none of the developed countries has met the requirement. And that is what made even the US in 2021 drop out of the Paris Agreement, because they were supposed to pay an amount that was to come under the UNFCCC process as a body that was trusted to all matters of loss and damage. Today, as we speak, loss and damage is not a discussion as an African continent. The only discussion we have is doubling adaptation finance under the new collective and quantified adaptation goals. Hope you answer. Last.
Okay, thank you. I'm Chris. And taking from where my friend from left, I would like to ask the following. And first of all, I would like to congratulate you because I understand that you're doing that and that will never die. Again, because in Africa we find that mostly we're dealing with this issue of mitigation. And we find that our friend from the north so my question is, could they maybe using this as a strategy to keep us busy here in Africa? They are keeping polluting the environment. Us in Africa being kept busy planting and all that. Could it be a strategy now as a neocolonialism? So that because I can see it because we will never develop, because they are the one having all those industries. Sisi tunapatikana kwa mito, tunapanda miti. Sasa tutawahi kuwa na uchumi, tutakuwa na viwanda lini? Thank you.
Thank you. Allow me, as I know there is a question that was established here.
Lastly, yes, my colleague. This issue of flocker funds. I think the people are supposed, because this money flows up to the county level. We have never tried that in where I come from, but you find that the kit itself is really iko na siasa mingi sana. Ukionekana wewe ni mtu anataka kuleta mageuzi kwa mambo ya climate, hawataki kwa sababu hawakutaki. Wanataka tu pesa ipakie pale juu. Wow. Pale kidogo niko wazi kabisa. Thank you.
Allow me to give you two insights. We are kept busy, yes, I agree. At no point as an Africa will untie ourselves to be on negotiation tables as the lead negotiators. That's why we've come together as an Africa group of negotiators, being led by a rotational chairship. It was coming from, is it Zimbabwe? The French team comes from, I'm sorry. There is a guy called Ifeanyi Chitima in Zimbabwe, if not Zambia or Zimbabwe. He was the outgoing African group of negotiators, chair. Currently, Kenya has been performing well. We were given the chair, and it is a special envoy and a climate specialist, who is the current chair of African group of negotiators. Coming to your question is, Africa as we are tight, and I want you to open a little bit more. There is a very critical concern that I don't want to open in this house, called critical minerals in Africa as one of the things that has closed all the gaps of negotiations and multi-climate finance in Africa. DRC Congo is the leading mineral country in Africa that is supporting the world economy. It is the most poorest developed country, and that's the politics between Uganda, Rwanda, DRC, US, China, and Europe. Go look at that. Come back, read an history of G77. G77 is a group of 77 countries, plus China, included all the developed countries. Anything dealing with any discussions related to matters of Africa in three components. One, looking at matters of mitigation. They agree on mitigation. Let us find a problem. Africa, we are fighting for adaptation. Matters of looking at whatever we call as critical minerals. is not a discussion that is put on table because of the interest that Africa is the only country that produces up to 60 to 70% of the natural resources in the world. So when we bring any discussions about Africa, the developed countries will lose most. About more than 50% of the industries in the developed countries, they depend on their resources from Africa. Give the mic. I don't know if I'm eating to your lunch, I don't know. We stop it. Just like we stop, so that I'm always time conscious.
Okay.
We go fast.
For example, because you said that 60% of the minerals that are used globally come from Africa. And we understand in the context of our country, Kenya, we find that each and every year, university and colleges are meeting thousands of graduates outside the economy. Now this, the north, we are not giving us the chance now to get all those industries maybe the global south. How will we now be getting jobs? Because you find if you cannot get into industrialization, how can we then be absorbing millions and millions of young people who are coming from university? So my point is, this is the north. This is a strategy now to keep us poor and the poor and the poor. But a day will come.
Thank you. In a short way is that Africa, the developed countries, have taken advantage of Africa because of the political economy in which we are, the ignorance, and also whatever we love as whatever we call the corruption.
Thank you so much.
The proper issue is another politics that I may want not to go into. Government has money, county governments have been disbursed amounts. There is whatever we call that is called PCRA, Participatory Climate Risk Assessment has been done. Projects have been identified. The only step is remaining is that the National Treasury to support these programs, but the problem at the county level, there is a disconnect between the county and the local communities, and whatever we call the World Climate Change Planning Committees, and also the County Climate Change Planning Committees. And out of that, there is a research that I myself, party itself, leading, that will come, and we're going to have a national convention of the elected CSO to improve on matters of accountability. All the ward committees that are being put in place, we're putting it and pushing a legislation to come clearly that they be constituted according to expertise, opportunities, and also by resource. Because most of the appointees were political appointees giving an hand back.
Very true.
Yeah, last one, and please allow me finish it here. If you have a discussion, I'll be here in the better part of the afternoon so that before I go home.
I want to make a concern, and is going to be, I'm going to use a term and then I'll define it and then give my conclusion. There's an Arabic term, it's a phrase, it's said, Innamal amal binniyat. This means any action will be justified or unjustified by the intention. Now, my question is, what is the intention of the COP in this solution?
Thank you. Are you going on?
Yes, let me finish.
Yes.
What is the intention of any gathering revolving around solution on climate change, if at all it is all about politics? Because I think interest is a very bad thing. Even a religion becomes bad when the pastor has interest. Religion becomes bad when the sheikh has interest when giving someone. I think the interest should be how to build the society, how to make us improve out of the problem created along climate change. So, also to you, what is your intention, sir?
A nice question. Failed COPs, the intentions, and allow me put it clearly, I want to echo back the words of my mentor, Professor Seth of Safo of University of Ghana, who is the legal advisor to the African Group of Negotiators and the chief advisor to the UN. He states that since 1995, first COP, this year we had 29 COP. The question comes, what could happen if the Conference of Parties doesn't happen? One, there could not be flow of resources. It is at the Conference of Parties where deals are being made. Bilateral deals, country versus country, continent versus continent, and also is a gathering where commitments are being made and ratified under the Paris Agreement. Under Article 9 of the Paris Agreement that deals with matters of financing climate change under the UN. If the Conference of Parties did not happen, we could not have whatever we call the Paris Agreement. We could not have the multi-international legal frameworks coming up as the one of benefits, as the one of whatever we have adaptation financing, the one on mitigation financing, the loss and damage itself could not be there. The other consequence is Africa could be suffering. Who could be speaking the interest and the voice of Africa? We are fighting an Africa back as a motherland. And that's what we're calling Africa as a continent of special needs and special circumstances. And the coming together of an African position, where we develop an African position paper to be presented at the interministerial discussions before the presidents come. COP is divided into three. Negotiations by the technical teams, the ministers coming to the second last day, then the president comes to ratify whatever has been agreed at the negotiation tables. If this one doesn't happen, my brother, we could be feeling it. My intention, I want to fight for an Africa that has the voices of the vulnerable groups. And members, let's stop it there.
I think that's how you know someone is passionate about something, yeah? Have you found something that you're passionate about? That you can talk passionately about it the way Duncan has delivered that session on climate adaptation and mitigation? I hope you find yours, because that's how you're going to change our society. Duncan, please come back. I'd like to invite Nathan, our CEO, to meet you. I'm talking about appreciation of SMACHS.
Did you hear that? I'm told we've organized 52 side events. Oh, sorry, I remember. In fact, we organized 52 side events at COP29, being an organization that has organized the largest side events, including with governments, and the government of Azerbaijan that hosted. We need to be out of this place by 2. Since it's an outdoor program,
try and hurry to eat our lunch in good time so that we board our buses by 2. We'll have different people who will be assisting us. Alright, great. So we'll have Omar. Omar, just raise your hand. Laura, Kamau, Rhoda, Val, and Vanessa, Ogude. Yes, and Ikano, who will be helping us coordinate that session.